What's up? We're back inside the facility here with head honcho, old ball coach Ryan Silverfield. Ryan, glad to have you on the show. Second year in a row for you here on Tigers Untapped. It's becoming a little bit of a tradition. Some are saying, TJ and I, this is the best offseason tradition for Tiger football.
Well, I think that's what I think if you ask fans what's actually the most tradition that they think about when they think about Tiger football, I think it's Tigers on Tap with me and you.
Yeah.
You know, back for year two. I think that's more important than any other history or tradition in the Tiger program.
That's love to hear it. We're down one. TJ not with us today. Obviously, there's a big gap here. He's stuck at the gate. You guys put up their security gate. I don't know if you've listened to the show, but TJ had a run-in while he was here on campus back in college days. Stole a police Segway.
Okay.
And so they're not letting him on campus. So it's just me and you today.
I saw his pictures on there as not being allowed in anyways.
Oh, they do have those. Okay. Well, TJ, if you're listening, you're not allowed on campus. I feel like you guys built a lot of momentum this offseason. Coming out of the bowl game, a big victory over Iowa State. As we've moved in, there's been funding for the stadium. You had the Smith family donation. You've had the FedEx NIL deal. Recruiting's off to a hot start. Just kind of talk about how special this offseason's been and how, as we head into 2024, you guys can continue to kind of build upon that and continue the momentum going forward for the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it did start right with the end of the Liberty Bowl game, right? Coming away with a victory, getting a 10-win season, and then it parlayed into so many great things happening, almost a domino effect, right? It came, with the quarterback coming back, Seth Hennigan, right? Along with so many of our other players, so many of our greats saying, hey, I want to continue to be a part of this program. I want to see what we can do in 2024 football season. So I think that was a domino effect. Okay, you get all the great players deciding, hey, we want to come back and be a part of something special. Okay, and then, thank goodness for our administration. They said, hey, we'll keep you around a few more years, and they extended me. So
I didn't even mention that, the contract. Yeah, congratulations
on
that.
Those are all great things. And then you look at what goes on from there, right? Then the announcement of the NIL, right? Great, obviously so grateful for the Smith family and FedEx for what we're able to get done, and that pledge to our athletic program, which is going to be great for all of the University of Memphis. And then you look from there, and then now the stadium renovations. I mean, just within the last few days, we're getting to see some of that stuff getting bulldozed. It's just at exciting times, right? Obviously grateful for Laird Veach, but really excited about our new athletic director, Ed Scott, coming to the fold. So there's all these things going on that are occurring, and a lot of excitement heading in towards the future, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned we talked about the construction, phase 2 underway, demolition. Have you been over there to see kind of what's going on? I know, Kenny, you were out there earlier this week. There's been some video. And how is that? Have you been a part of those conversations about how that might impact game day experience for not only you guys, but as fans? And I know in the preseason, a lot you guys like to have a scrimmage or two there. Is that going to be impact? Are you able to kind of still have those practices and stuff, given it's an active construction zone?
Yeah, so I haven't been out there yet. My plan is, we were at media days when they started it, or else I told them I'd been out there with a hard hat helping out. But I'll get by there very shortly and go see it. But then we also plan, as a staff and as a team and as a program, to go out there and have our practices. We'll have 2 of them out there actually before the first game, our mock game, a scrimmage out there. I think it's so important for our guys to get a feel for it. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's a totally different deal. It's going to be a different look, but we're excited about it. And then, I'm appreciative of our administration who have included me on the conversations. Hey, this is what we're thinking about with the stadium. Any thoughts, ideas? Also, people within our department have sat there and said, hey, have we thought about this? And there's, a million ideas and thoughts. When it's all said and done, it's going to be one of the greatest stadiums in college football.
It's going to look fantastic. The renderings are awesome. I think it's gonna be a little bit weird for probably a year or two with that big gaping hole there in an active construction zone, but I'm excited to see what it ends up looking like come 2025. We talk about the off season from you. Just how's summer been? Off season, you done anything fun? Any cool vacations? You've been playing College Football 25. That's a release coming out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So summer one. My biggest concern is obviously that the program, and now the NCAA allows us to do OTA, so those have been going well. Just wrapped up summer conditioning today, but quite excited about the direction that's going. And then personally, I wasn't one of those coaches that went and spent 2 weeks at the beach. I actually went one weekend down to Tampa and saw Ice Cube and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wow!
The next weekend,
was that a collab?
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
Together.
And then then went up to Chicago and saw the Rolling Stones at Soldier Field. And then the next weekend went and saw Garth Brooks in Vegas. So just kind of found my way back to the office during the week, but on the weekends did some trips, saw some good concerts, and had a good time.
You got quite the genres covered there with Garth, Red Hot, Ice Cube. What's your game day playlist look like?
I'm pretty old school, so I appreciate good classic rock. But usually on game day, usually get myself going with some AC/DC, maybe some Rage Against the Machine. But then I got to calm myself back down, so I neutral thinking and all that stuff.
Throw some Garth on after that to calm down.
I don't want to be headbutting the
Friends
players
in
before
low
the
places,
game, but
yeah.
I get going pretty good. I'm pretty calm, and then within 30 minutes before the run out, I think every hair on the back of my neck standing up, and I'm ready to roll. And then right when I run out, okay, time to catch my breath
there you go.
and get to going.
There you go. So no college football 25 for me. I've seen some videos. I know they had it at AAC Media Day. Seth played Commissioner Pernetti. You didn't jump on the sticks there?
Yeah, I'm so used to the, back in my day it was the Atari with the one button or the Nintendo.
Hey, they have a setting you can do one button controls.
Perfect. Well, good.
We should have done it. We got the big screen here. We could have played. We could have put you on the
what
one
are your
button
weekend
control.
plans? I mean, I think that's something we could be
Let's
doing.
do it. I've seen the pictures of having the players over in the pool. I'll gladly
Come on
bring
over,
the kids
yeah.
over. We'll jump in.
But
get on the sticks.
Yeah, I have not partaked in it. I've warned our players, hey, once it gets to midnight, shut the damn thing off and get some sleep.
I will tell you, it is difficult to shut that thing off. It's a great game. I don't know if you've seen your ratings or anything, kept up with it. They've got every uniform possible. We're the highest rated G5, so they think very highly. I'll throw this out there. Multiple times on social media, the computer generated. These are people that aren't even using Memphis as like in their dynasty mode. The computer one of our players has won the Heisman on the computer. You want to guess who that is? There's an obvious choice that you would think that it would be, but I'll tell you it's not the obvious choice.
Well, Caden Costa, the kicker?
Yeah. No, it is Kobe Drake.
Kobe Drake.
It's more than once. Even The Athletic did a simulation, and he won the Heisman. I think he had 100 receptions for 1,500 yards and 22 tutties, so let's sign us up for that right now.
Generally, the Heisman Trophy winner comes from a top 10 team in the country. And if Kobe Drake wins the Heisman, I think we'll all be just happy.
Absolutely.
So, I think the simulation is probably as real as it gets, and can we go ahead and mark that off and say, hey,
where do
the
we
season's
sign?
been played and let's go?
Where do we sign? Sign us up. I will say, as good as we are, I have struggled. It's one of my favorite games, so I had to get a new system for it. I've created a dynasty, but defense is impossible. It is, Coach, I couldn't stop the FCS Pandas. At one point, their QB was 20 of 21 throwing on me.
Well, we got to teach you some defensive skills.
I know, I do. I will not be applying for any defensive analyst roles, and I do not envy Jordan Hankins whatsoever.
So you won't be in the stands yelling, play defense anymore. You're like,
hey,
it's hard enough, I get it.
Yeah, I get it now. If it's anything like that in real life, I do not envy Jordan Hankins one bit.
One of my thoughts was with all these people now playing this college football game, there's going to be, right, everybody else tells me how to coach a game and how to play it. Now it's twofold. Right now everybody's, you should have run the, what about the smash pattern on 3rd and 6, Coach? What do you think? I'm like, oh boy, now everybody's going to have answers and I can't wait. And
you got to send over your college football 25 resume before you can give any sort of advice to coach on what they need to be doing. But so speaking of Jordan, new DC, got a good shot of kind of what to expect during the bowl game. I think a really solid performance there and a big win, 0 yards rushing. I don't want to go into anything schematically to give anything away, but what are you excited about? What are you expecting to see from that side of the ball with Jordan at the helm?
Yeah, obviously had the opportunity to work with Coach Hankins for a few years, so understood what he was all about and the passion and energy he brings to that side. The bowl game was a snippet of what we expect. I told him if he can hold every team to 0 yards rushing, he'll have a long, successful career, and he can be right by my side the whole time.
Absolutely.
But no, obviously, be able to return some of our other coaches as well was important. But I think, we're going to see a multitude of defense, right? We're going to be able to play 4 down, 3 down, change up the coverages. I think all that stuff's so important this day and age in college football. I think if you just sit back and say, hey, this is what we are, we're a 4 down quarters team, then you're going to get beat in the face every time. But I like his passion. I like his energy. He's intelligent. He's going to change things up. Our players are excited about it. And, right, I'll be quite frank, we have not been where we need to be on defense the last few years. And it's my job to get it turned around. Got great faith in the defensive staff and the defensive players to get us to where we need to be.
Awesome. Lining up the staff, Jordan's not the only. You got Spencer Winsey that's come over from Ohio, Reggie Howard. Talk about some of those new staff members on that side too and what they're bringing.
Yeah, right. It always starts with Charles Clark, the guy that's been with me now going on year 5. He's kind of been my right-hand man as our deputy head coach. And then you're exactly right, guy like Spencer Winsey, who was a defensive coordinator at the University of Ohio, top 5 defense in the college football, and just does a tremendous job. So excited about his acumen and bringing him. Coach Hankins will coach the linebackers and then the back end, where I mentioned Coach Clark, and then Reggie Howard, right, a Memphis legend. right? 7 years playing in the NFL, picked off Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I always sell that one. I tell them, you need to be, I would be wearing that T-shirt that said I picked
with
off
the
Tom
picture
Brady.
of it.
Well, yeah, I picked off Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I would. That's all I'd wear.
There you go.
But you know, and then obviously he most recently coached with the Commanders in the NFL, and then came back to his hometown of Memphis. So really excited about that defensive staff. There's some new rules in college football. I'm sure everybody can coach. So if you're part of the staff, you can come on out and coach. It's just part of it.
Nice. We talked about the coaching staff. You've had the last couple of years the benefit of having what I mean in my eyes were kind of coaches on the field, and Quindell Johnson, Simeon Blair kind of played that role last year. Is there a guy on this year's team that's kind of filling in those shoes and can kind of be that field general defensively, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, look, Greg Rubin's going to be playing most of that safety role. Greg Rubin will be a 4-year starter, right? A local guy that's done it the right way. So Greg's going to be out there. We got other guys. As you guys saw, we bought in a ton of safeties in the transfer portal. And so it's kind of finding that mix with what those guys can get done. And then, I think Chandler Martin is going to continue to be one of the leaders of our defense. Quite excited about what he brings back. A mature, smart young man that was a first-team all-conference linebacker. So that voice is huge kind of at that linebacker position plus that safety position.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned Chandler, and, he was a FCS All-American from ETSU, but kind of, I would say to the casual fan or those that don't kind of go and dive into the rankings or watch the film, was a little bit under the radar and then comes in and is immediately impactful, right? You talk about first team all-conference, he's probably the best linebacker, in my opinion, in the league. Is there a guy on this year's roster, offense or defense, that's maybe kind of coming in under the radar that you guys feel really good about that could be as impactful as Chandler kind of was last year?
I think that's interesting because there's some new faces and there's still competition to be had, right? We talked about all those guys returning on offense. I think one of the guys that doesn't ever get enough credit is Anthony Lamphere. I think he's one of those guys that's just been a really solid starter. It's done a great job for us. Offensive line, no one knows their name, so I can list out the guys. I think we got to see, and fans got to see a glimpse of what Sutton Smith is capable of, right? Mario Anderson's getting a lot of the accolades, but Sutton Smith continues to do a great job. I think he's going to have a huge impact on us this season. A guy like Cortland Marsh, a name that most fans would say, who is that? He was a transfer from Samford. I think he's going to do a lot of great things at a safety position as well. Kobe Minor, the defensive back corner, transfer from IU. I think he's going to be, but we got a ton of guys. I mean, I can sit here and name, and you'd say, wow, really? But to that being said, I think we have more depth than we've ever had at every position.
So we talked about last year, and I think Seth had said it, Joe Skate had said it, they felt like this was the most talented team. Do you think that this year's team can maybe take that title of being the most talented? I mean, you brought back a lot of production. A lot of those guys are a year older. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, very, very talented. Obviously, going into my 9th year, I've seen a lot of talented teams here, right? The 2019 Cotton Bowl team, I mean, I think there's 8 guys alone that are NFL players in there. So from a talent standpoint, I'm not going to sit here and argue, hey, this guy was, look, Tony Pollards of the world, the Anthony Millers. Those were
special guys.
Yeah, special guys. And then, but look, I don't know how many of our guys are NFL guys, but I think we got a bunch of guys that love to play football, that love playing as a team. That bleed blue, and I think that's going to pay dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the offensive line. Jump into that. Offensively, you have brought back a ton of production. You have some holes to kind of fill in that offensive line. I think you said the other day it's the deepest that position group has ever been. As a fan looking in, that may be one of their spots of question, how's the offensive line going to look? We've lost 3 starters. Kind of just tell us about that offensive line, your expectations, kind of what they're looking like as you guys head into the fall.
We brought in a bunch of different guys, right? We expect some of the guys that have been here to continue to step up, right? The guys like Xavier Hill, which was a first-team all-conference O-lineman that played multiple positions last year, right? Jonah Gamble is a multi-year starter at every position, right? With those guys returning. We brought in a guy that I think will probably be our center named Trent Holler, who was at Marshall, who had quite a bit of suitors when he went in the portal as well. And then kind of looking, what Malachi Breland, right? The guy that got the start at right guard in the Liberty Bowl that, before that no one had ever heard of.
Right.
You remember we had 2 offensive linemen, 2 of our starters, our starting left tackle and our starting right guard, actually opted out of the bowl game and were in the portal. And then you look, we got a guy like Jalen Nichols, right, who started 18 games at South Carolina. Chris Adams, who started at ODU. Kedrell Lewis, who started at ULM. So we got some of these guys. We got some talent. Now let's go out there and see what they're capable of.
Yeah. Offensive line, hopefully they're opening up all kinds of holes all year long. You've talked about Mario Anderson a little bit, Sutton Smith in the backfield. Mario, I think it was last week, set some pretty lofty expectations for himself. I don't know if you saw this. He said he's going after D'Angelo's single-season rushing record of 1,946 yards.
Wow. Well,
What does that say about Mario, and what can we expect from him and Sutton out of the backfield?
Yeah, look, I appreciate Mario's confidence, and I love the fact that he's got lofty goals. I don't care about stats. I really don't. All I care about is winning, and we're going to have to run the ball to win football games, and I think Mario's going to have a great season. But it doesn't matter if he rushes for 3,000 yards or 500, as long as we win football games. And it's a team game, and I think we got a lot of talent back there. We had another running back, Greg Desiree from UMass. I probably butchered his last name, but I tried. Brandon Thomas is coming back. So we got a lot of talent back there. Got a lot of faith in every single one of them. I appreciate Mario's confidence, and I'm sure he's certainly capable of it. But whatever the game leads us to.
Yeah, if he does break that record, it's going to be hard for Kobe to win the Heisman, I think, because 2,000 rushing yards in a year.
Well, if we have a 2,000-yard rusher and a 100-yard catch receiver, we'll be putting up some good video game numbers.
I mean, the video game numbers will definitely be there. The last couple of years you've talked about, it's been a part of college football and basketball all across the nation, is roster turnover, right? 35% of rosters getting flipped over. I feel like your staff, you guys, especially this year, have done a tremendous job with bringing back key pieces. You talk about Seth Hennigan coming back for a fourth year, Rock Taylor, Demir, Chandler Martin, Gramonte Hamilton, guys that had probably opportunities to hit the portal. And not even just that, I mean, on the coaching staff side as well, right? There's been talk about Tim Cramsey had opportunities to leave and he's come back. So what does that say about the culture you've built here and those guys wanting to be in Memphis and accomplishing, a goal to get together?
So very fortunate. I think it always starts with your current players and current staff. I mean, it's, so often, maybe we can go get this guy. No, if we can keep our guys that I think are fit what we want to do, it speaks volumes. But whenever I talk about culture, it always starts with the guys in the locker room. They're the ones that create it. They're the ones that set the standards every single day. And it's my job and our job as a staff to hold them accountable to those standards. And what I love about this group of guys is, man, they know where the bar's set. They understand the expectation. They understand the standards. And they're going out there every single day and working towards that. And so I think you get a bunch of like-minded guys that say, you know what, we want to be a part of something. I always try to be fair to our players, very forthright. There's some of our players that probably have come to me and said, this may not be the best fit for you. And there's other players saying, here's a reason why you should stay. And I think the majority of the guys sit back and say, you know what, this is a special place. I think they believe in the way we do things. They love this city. They love this university. We've got an excellent setup within our football program, right? The way we're doing things academically. We had the highest GPA in program history last semester, right? We're still top 10% in the country in internship opportunities. So when all of a sudden, you're a player sitting there saying, man, I got everything I need here. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we get to go compete for a championship.
Absolutely.
Let's stay here. Let's stick this thing out and see what we're capable of.
Absolutely. So you talk about competing for a championship. I think fall camp starts next Wednesday. I know last year's kind of mantra slogan was finish, right? The previous years we kind of had some struggles in finishing out games, whether it was in the fourth quarter or where not. I feel like you guys did a good job of that last year. There were games that came down on the wire and you found ways to finish. Is there a mantra for this season heading in, and why is it parade or national championship?
Yeah, look, I think, well, we're going with what you want, huh? Parade or national championship, that sounds great. This is coach speak. Obviously, we don't even talk, national championship, playoffs, or any of that stuff right now. We're just focused on one day at a time, but that's true coach speak, but that's the reality of it. In the years past, we continue to talk about being all in. I think people that understand that's our mantra, and that's what we live by on a day-to-day. And one of the unique things this year, we really are honing in on, okay, every unit, right, has to stand for something. So like the defensive line, they call themselves the Cadillacs. Okay, what does that stand for? What can we hold you accountable for? What's your identity as a defensive line? And so those guys are sitting here saying, okay, hey, we're going to be the toughest defensive line. We're going to run to the ball on every play. You can count on us to handle our academics, and you can count on us when the going gets tough. We're going to be there to lift the rest of the team up. Okay, great. Let's write that down. That's what you are about. That's what you are now. All right, let's live it, and let's be it day to day. And I think they take a lot of pride in it, right? They get to design their own brand. They made T-shirts of it, and I think it's kind of cool, right? Rather than saying, hey, all right, D-line, no, Cadillacs, let's go get this thing.
Okay.
And so we did that with each position, and I think they take pride in a sense of saying, okay, here's what we're all about, right? We're Memphis Tigers, and I always say it always starts with the overall program, right? Then the team itself, right? It's got to be team over me every single time. But man, let's have a lot of pride in our position group, right? And if we do what we're supposed to as individuals, then as a position group, the team and the wing will take care of itself.
Yeah, so that's all player led and come
Yeah.
up. Is automotive? Is that Cadillacs? Are there other vehicle units?
No,
on the team?
they
Are
can
the
be
only
whatever
one?
they want. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
No Ferraris or anything? No G-Wagon, nothing?
No G-Wagons, right? Like, so it's like the defensive backs are Palm Angels, yeah, and they got a neat graphic with it. And they actually had it on their warm-up shirts last year, but their training camp shirts will have the Palm Angels logo on it, and they love it. And that's what they break down on. And hey, any bit of incentive, motivation to get them going.
No, that's cool. That's a good team building kind of thing. And team building, I know in years past there's kind of been, I think, like a go away to the Jackson camp type of thing. Are you guys doing something like that this year?
Yeah. So since COVID, we haven't been able to go to Lambeth. I always thought it was a neat deal. One of the issues was I always worry about player safety. I didn't think the field conditions were where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't go there during COVID, and then as costs continue to rise, it just didn't make sense. Obviously, we got everything we need here.
Sure.
I'd love to go getaway camp for 2 weeks and just go get somewhere. But this day and age, sometimes it's just easier to stay here.
Sure. So you were at AAC Media Days earlier this week for the first, which is hard to believe for me, the first time in program history, the unanimous selection for number 1 in the conference. 23 out of 30 first place votes. I know you've heard that, you've been there, you've seen it, but how do you block that out for the team? I know that you've said as the head coach that's your job, but what does that look like? I know it's taking it day by day, but how do you keep them focused on, hey, we got UNA week 1, and if you lose that game, it's
Absolutely.
You're starting off on the wrong foot, and that's kind of all out the window already.
It's got to be the communication from the day they get back in January, right? No one should ever have higher expectations than we have of ourselves, ever, right? I appreciate the media, and it's great that we're on a national stage. Like I always say, I give credit to those people that came before us that allow us, the Memphis program, to be in such a positive light. But now we got to go out and do the work, and that doesn't mean anything. You've heard me throughout my career here, put the blinders on, let's go get it. And so you're exactly right. If we don't handle our business versus UNA, it's going to be a disaster of a season. So it's a one game at a time approach, and we can't even think about it. People are saying, oh, are you ready for Tulane on Thanksgiving? Am I ready for Tulane? I'm not even thinking about that, I mean, my mindset is how do we go 1-0 today? And that's going to be the same way in training camp, right? Let's go out there, attack today, dominate the day. And it's a true mindset and an approach that our guys understand. Let's go take care of business versus UNA, all right? And next week we've got Troy. Then the next week, right, Florida State. Then next week, Navy. We've got to handle our business 1 week at a time, and I can't even fathom thinking about something other than that.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned some of the games that are coming out of AAC. Who did you piss off in the conference to get this road schedule?
Yeah.
You got UTSA, Tulane on the road, USF on the road, at Navy. You're talking about the 3 contenders right behind you, all on the road.
I don't know. We got a new commissioner. I need to meet with him and say,
just
hey, let's
get a little smooch in
yeah,
there.
what's going on? I mean,
I guess the flip side of it is next year maybe they'll all be coming here and you kind of get the reverse. But
who knows?
I'd like to split that up maybe a little bit.
Certainly, look, they're all tough, as we know. But prior to COVID, we had never won at Navy in program history. We were able to get that done. It's a tough place to play. Then you look at going on the road to South Florida on Friday night, right? We'll both be coming off buys, playing them on an ESPN game on Friday night down there in Raymond James Stadium. And then, you turn back around, and later on you're at UTSA in the Alamo Dome, which has been notorious for selling out. Yeah. And then the game that's very far away is, at Tulane, Thanksgiving, national spotlight game. There's no longer any other college football game.
I don't think we've ever played a Thanksgiving Day game, and they moved the Egg Bowl to I think Friday or Saturday.
They moved it for our game.
So, we are the lone college football game on Thanksgiving. Is that
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. National spotlight.
There you go.
Let's
That's
go
awesome. Get it. Your first couple of years, we talk about the conference games, the toughest ones being on the road. I think you guys were 2-10 on the road with those 2 Navy wins. Last year you went 4-0 in conference on the road. Is that a testament to the guys' maturity levels getting older, understanding being in those situations, or did you guys approach or take a different approach to road games last season?
100%. I think it goes to maturity. Really, when you talk about it, and it starts always with the quarterback, right? When you start a 17-year-old quarterback,
there's going to be some bumps.
There's going to be some bumps, right? And there's always, I think the older you get, the less you let outside factors, come into it. I talk to our guys all about, can you focus for 60 minutes, right? For the 3.5 hours of game, can you focus? And I think our guys have always had it, but I think maturity shows, okay, go on the road and handle our business. And we're certainly, if we want to have any chance of winning the conference, we're going to have to be great on the road again this year.
Absolutely.
But, we talk about it all the time. We're very transparent with our guys. Hey, here's this atmosphere. Here's what it's going to look like. I don't care if there's 3,000 fans in the stands or, 70,000. We got to go handle our business.
Yeah, do you guys do anything at practice leading up to some of those games? I guess I came out here before Mississippi State game, and you guys were playing cowbells
Yeah.
over. So let's say the Florida State game. Are you going to have war chant blasting at 150 decibels?
I'm sure I will.
Going on the
right, you
practice
just
field?
got to practice it, because if you don't, right, when you step on the field, it's got to be different, right? And
Yeah.
we've played on the road in some environments that haven't been as packed, and so we've also gone out there, and they're so used to having music play at practice and dancing around, and sometimes we go out there.
You got to turn it off.
No music. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just.
I mean,
us.
sometimes that can be just as.
We're gonna go play in the parking lot and bring
Yeah.
your own damn juice.
Yeah.
So we gotta find it both ways.
Yeah.
But again, I think that speaks to maturity and where we're at as a football team.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about the Florida State game, the word chant. I know that you guys take it 1 week at a time. You don't necessarily have a game circled on the calendar, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say TJ and I, and probably a lot of the other Memphis fans, have that game circled. Obviously, it's a big time program, getting to go down to Tallahassee national stage, an opportunity to do something really special. But also with Norvell, right? Our former coach, you guys have a relationship. Do you guys still have a relationship? You keep in contact? You have some kind of side bet going on with that game? Or?
So, you're right, one game at a time. Excited for it, because I do think, right, it's the opportunity for us to go down there and face a top 10 team in the country. Mike and I still have a great relationship. We talked the other day. I still think it's important, even though we're playing each other, we still bounce ideas off each other. In fact, I was down there at the Florida State camp this summer. A lot of weird-looking heads, but when Mike had his arm around me, they're like, "Oh, okay, I got it." Wonder why the Memphis coach is walking through, going through the playbook.
Yeah.
Look
What's he got under his shirt?
Yeah, exactly right. But I think that relationship is always going to be strong.
Yeah.
I give Mike a lot of credit. I certainly wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for him. And I think he'd be the first one to tell you, look, I hope I had some part of his success here as well. I always say this, I was supposed to be on that plane for his introductory press conference in Tallahassee. So, but I was glad, right? This is one of those things that when it came up, a few months after being the head coach, I kind of looked at the opening of the schedule and who else had openings, and I said, hey, let's play this game. And some pushing and prodding and all that stuff, we decided we're playing it. They're going to pay us $1.3 million. Hopefully we go down there and handle our business. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Talking about that opportunity on the road, we've talked about the AAC and the conference in general, but also the playoffs expanded to 12 teams. We talked a little bit about the offseason momentum, but there's a lot. I don't know if you can feel it in the city, nationally. There's a different feel around this season as it comes up. Do you guys feel that? Because it's not just locally. There's national pundits that are saying that you guys could be that 12th seed or get the G5 access slot. Do you think that the American champion should make the playoff?
Yeah, so go back to initially, I do believe that there's a lot more excitement in my 9 years here this offseason than ever been, right? Even before the 2019 season, I just feel like there's a sense of overall excitement. I think part of the momentum of all the things we talked about that are going on within our program. And I talked to our players about the college football playoff. I have, and we all saw it in recruiting, right? You win the conference, you go. And I truly believe the winner of this conference, regardless of record, should go to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
You compare our conference versus others in the G5, G4, whatever the heck it is now. I think we have every right to be there. And if we handle our business, that should happen. But we can't control that.
Right.
And you know what? Actually, once training camp starts, you'll never hear me say the word playoffs again. We can only control our destiny, right? You talked to some of these teams last year that, thought, an SMU team that thought they deserved the shot at the playoffs, and a Liberty team that, for whatever it's worth, some people maybe said they didn't play the toughest schedule, but got in because of the record. But we'll handle, that's all we can do is take it one day at a time, one week at a time.
Sure.
But I do think there's that excitement, and I appreciate it, because what it allows is so many more teams the ability to get into this thing.
Yeah. Do you think 12 is a good number, or would you expand it further?
Well, let's see how.
I kind of like the FCS level where it's every conference champion gets a shot. I've always been a proponent of that. Let everybody have a shot, and that kind of really puts more emphasis on winning your conference. But yeah, I don't know if you think 12's good or they'll stay there. It seems like they're expanding.
Let's see how 12 is.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
It's like everything, right? They're allowing sideline tablets now. I mean, they're allowing player-to-coach communication. There's now talks of the roster limitations. I mean, there's just so many changes. Let's stick with this for a year or two and see what it's like. What I don't want it to do is go to like a field of 64 and like, oh yeah, still playing football in March, and like, aren't these kids supposed to be having some type of academics obligations?
Although I don't know, playing football till March sounds good to me. As more footballs, I would sign up for that. Well, one last question before we wrap it up here. I asked it last year. I'm asking it again. What beer are we drinking after the conference championship?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah,
whatever's cold.
That's right. Whatever's
That's what
cold.
we're getting.
If not, we'll find some good bourbon and
Okay,
we'll have that.
there we go. Well, we appreciate it. Always a pleasure to have you on. Best of luck this season. We thank you for joining. Everybody tune in. We'll be right back. We'll do our beer review after this.